when you're super specific on the project you're working on, the tools that will get you to that next level will present themselves.
Everyone here thinks they want that. You aren't clear enough on what you want to be in order to develop consistency.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode where we asked you a simple but profound question. Are you settling in your relationship? Today, for episode number 540, if you are feeling lost, here is why. 540 episodes.
540.
It's pretty wild.
Next level you.
Next level you. So Alan and I were talking earlier in the studio. As you guys know, we record all of our solo episodes on Monday, as long as we're not jeffing. Hopefully this week we're not jeffing.
As long as we can speak.
As long as we can speak, yes. And we were talking about how at the end of the day, clarity is one of the most important things. And it's something that's talked about a lot, but I don't know that people understand why clarity is so important. It's not just understanding where you want to go. We're going to talk a lot about clarity today, but we're going to try to hit it from a different perspective. Now, I'm going to preface it with this. So, Alan understands clarity a lot deeper than most people because Alan has undying self-belief. So I am going to try to translate what Alan is saying. Now, do not assume that Alan is egotistical or arrogant for him saying some of the things he's going to say. I have learned over the last 3.5 or 4 years that Alan just has undying self-belief, which to anybody who is insecure comes off as arrogance. So I'm going to try to transcode what Alan is saying, but stick with us, even if it's heavy, because I'm going to transcode it to Kevin terms, hopefully.
I really appreciate that.
We're going to try. We're going to see what happens. I have an eyelash in my eyeball.
So how do we start this? Okay.
Well, have a good one.
Yeah, take care. No, so Amy and I did a Next Level Nation live on defining success for yourself and how to get rid of your need for external validation. And I think I learned a little something on that episode because I ended up asking Amy, what is your definition of success? And to be completely honest, and I know that this might sound harsh, she didn't really have a good answer. And I understand why that is, right? And this is nothing against Amy. I think Amy's more clear now than ever, but I also think, if I'm honest, I think that she's gotten a lot of direction and purpose and passion from the team, from the community. And I think that's what we do on the NLU team. We provide a lot of direction, I believe, genuinely, which is what I think people need but don't necessarily want. It's almost like, for anyone out there listening, have you been on a sports team where you felt unbelievably just good? You were a part of something bigger than yourself, and you had a team of like-minded people that were all there for a common purpose. And so if the goal was to win a championship or to get into the playoffs or to win that next game or that next track meet, what people don't really understand, I believe, is that all the other stuff, all the fun, all the enjoyment, all the relationships, all the camaraderie was actually in the community was actually a byproduct of a bigger goal. In other words, everyone's at the game to win a championship, that year and maybe have a career in that sport eventually. But yet all the amazing things that I think people want in life are actually a byproduct of that, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So here's what I'm going to try to say, and then I'm going to let Kevin try to translate. There are two types of people in the world, and I forget where I learned this, but it does make a lot of sense to me because I think I'm one of the types, and it's easy for me to see who's not because I've always been on one side of it, even when I was doing it incongruently, if that makes sense. Okay, so there's two types of people. There's a wandering generality of someone who's pretty lost. They don't really know exactly who they are. They kind of want to fit in, and they kind of like football, but they also kind of like sports, and they kind of also like knitting. And again, it's just an example that they like a lot of different stuff, but they don't necessarily they're not obsessed with anything. They like everything, but they're not obsessed with anything. And if they are, they certainly haven't designed their life around that. So a wandering generality is someone who kind of knows who they are, but kind of doesn't know who they're not. they're wandering around. They kind of like their job, but they're not obsessed with it. They don't necessarily love it. You know, when I ask the question of if money didn't matter, what would you do for the rest of your life? If you can't answer that, you're most likely a wandering generality. And I'm not making that wrong. I'm saying let's acknowledge it and then let's work on it. Okay, on the other end of the spectrum is what's referred to as a meaningful specific. This person knows exactly who they are, exactly who they aspire to be, exactly where they are, and exactly how to bridge that gap. They know what their things are, they know what their things are not, and they are very clear on the purpose that they have in this world. And I think that self-actualization and personal growth and getting to the next level is honing in on that. It's who am I and who do I aspire to be and how do I close that gap? And how do I get more and more and more and more clarity on that? And then before I let Kevin translate, when we wake up in the morning, do you already have a fairly strong understanding of exactly what you're doing that day? Not because your job told you to do this thing, but because you know who you are and this is what you want to do. And here's what I would say. Let's say you never had to worry about money again in your entire life, and you genuinely didn't have to work, okay? Hypothetical world. How different is what you would do day to day than what you're doing right now? Because for me, it's almost... It literally nothing different. I would do nothing different. Now, I would do more. If we had more money, I would do more of what we're doing. If you can't answer the way I just did, that's totally fine. Totally fine. I'm not making it wrong. Trust me. I would have changed a lot at one point.
Same.
I hated my job, okay? So I'm not judging you. I'm saying acknowledge the fact. If you're a wandering generality, let's picture a 0 to 10. A 10 is meaningful specific. Someone who, like, not only do they know what they're for, but the whole world knows what they're for. Okay? This is the I'll give you a specific example. Michael Jordan. He lived, breathed, spoke, thought, said, believed basketball. Everything was basketball. Everything revolved around basketball. He was an obsessive about basketball. The whole world knows his name, and he has contributed a lot of inspiration to a lot of young kids and a lot of people. That's a meaningful specific. Now imagine someone who just kind of doesn't really know what they want to do with their life. That's a wandering generality. So imagine 0 to 10. Where are you at, and how do we get closer to 10?
I think that was good.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, no, I think that I think it might come off as a little bit hardcore, but the point is that we want to help you guys get to the next level of your life, and the only way to get to the next level is understand where you are, right? If you go back and listen 3.5, 4 years ago, I literally said in an ideal world, I didn't have to work. So a lot of things have changed for me because now I, quote unquote, in quotation marks, work every day. Doesn't mean I'm working 12 hours. Some days I track my finances, I track the listens, I post on social media, I do some other things, make sure the team's all set. Spilled on
Spilled
himself.
a little bit of water.
I think it's important to ask yourself, and I'd love to hear what any other questions that you have that people can ask themselves, but why don't you think more people know? We went to Brendan Burchard's event, and we were split up in separate groups, and one of the exercises was understanding how clear you were. And I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was like health, wealth, and love or whatever it was. But most people are anywhere from like 3 to 5, and I remember being anywhere from 8 to 10 on all of them. And I was like, oh, wow, a lot of people here are really searching for clarity. I came here to get closer to my goal that I'm clear on. A lot of people came here to figure out what their goals are.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that, right? Me, 5 years ago would have been doing the same thing.
Same.
If you don't have belief that you can accomplish anything in the world, how do you figure out what you would do if you had $1 million or all the money in the world or money didn't matter or whatever?
The problem with this question, and I appreciate the question, it's your subconscious won't let you have the idea if you don't believe it's possible. I think that's the problem people are up against, Kev. So
what about the genie question? Is that better?
Okay, so let's do that. So I have this question that I used to ask my clients all the time. If you could wake up tomorrow, rub a lamp, and a genie popped out, and the genie said, hey, Kev, you can be the best in the world at any 3 things, what would they be and why?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. The best podcaster in the world, the best husband in the world, and the best father in the world. Those would be my 3.
Okay, why?
Because I think if I'm the best podcaster in the world, I'm going to have unreasonable amounts of opportunities. The best husband in the world because I want to give Taryn the most amazing life and I want to be the most amazing man. And then the best father in the world. I didn't really have a dad growing up, so I want to make sure that I raise strong, capable, confident, well-adjusted children.
Okay, so here's the beautiful thing, and fire answer.
I appreciate that.
So think about how clear Kevin was. I want everyone out there listening, look at how quickly he answered and how specifically he answered. Kevin is what I refer to as a meaningful specific. Now, this episode is hardcore, but I want to give you guys the truth because I care enough to give it to you. Kevin will be far more successful than someone who doesn't have a clear answer. Because think about this. We are a byproduct of what we say, think, do, and believe. If you know that those are your 3 main priorities, those are what you have planted your flag on. Everything you say and don't say, think and don't think, learn and don't learn, believe and don't believe, are all predicated on those. Kevin got in the room with me because his subconscious wanted to be around someone with more direction. And you knew on some level, conscious or unconscious, that you needed direction in order to achieve your dreams. And by the way, when you were a wandering generality, you wanted to take your own life. Mm-hmm. And I have been in very dark places where I didn't know who the hell I was either. I think it's important. People think, if you're out there listening right now, you think you want fulfillment. You think you want happiness. You think you want joy. You think you want a meaningful relationship. You think you want a great body. You think you want a dream wedding. You think you want kids, and you think you want, this to wake up every day and love what you do. You think you want all those things. What I've kind of inherently learned and started to understand is that all of those things are actually byproducts. They can't be the goal. And I'm going to try to give a really tangible example here. If your goal is to lose 20 pounds to look good in a bikini this summer, what month is it? February? Almost February.
January. Yeah,
okay, almost February. Okay, so if your goal is to look good in a bikini this summer, and my goal is to be the greatest possible fitness physique I can possibly be. Steve Cook, if you don't know Steve Cook, look him up on Instagram. Awesome dude, great physique.
Stud. He's a stud.
Absolute stud. I do believe wholeheartedly that I can reach that goal. I told Emilia this weekend it's going to take me about 8 years, but I can do it. And I have a specific photo, too, of like what I know I can look like if I work hard enough and I put in the work. This summer, if your goal is to look good in a bikini and my goal is to shoot for Steve Cook's physique 8 years from now, this summer I'll look better than you on the beach. See, that goal of looking good in a bikini is actually a byproduct of wanting to be a fitness model way, way, way above it. It's so difficult to explain, but this podcast, we would never have even gotten to episode 540 if we didn't decide in advance to have the most successful personal development podcast on the planet. Mm. We may never get there, but we'll get farther than we would have if we didn't plant our flag. JFK had to decide in advance, we're going to go to the moon this decade. And then the whole world, America rallied around that, and we rallied around it, and we're like, you know what, we're going to beat Russia. We're going to do it better than Russia. We're going to do it quicker than Russia. Okay? It's not like you're just going to stumble upon how to go to the moon. You're not just going to stumble upon that. You have to decide in advance. And if you haven't decided in advance, you don't have direction, and therefore you don't have the necessity. If you're listening to the show right now just because you want to learn and you like learning, it's not a good enough reason. I'm sorry, it's not. You got to be specific. You got to say, what do I really want my life to look like? How do I reverse engineer that? How do I choose a destination in advance where the byproducts of that destination are the life I want? If Michael Phelps didn't love swimming, he would not be Michael Phelps. It's unbelievably important to realize Michael Phelps right now can do almost anything he wants in the world. He has financial freedom. Yeah. He can get any sponsorship he wants. He can hang out with almost anyone in the world he wants. All of that stuff you think you want is actually a byproduct of something far, far bigger. And this is why I can't get around I have trouble with this. People who don't aim high, I have trouble with it because what I kind of know that what they really want is actually a byproduct of aiming high. Mm. Now, you got to be careful, and I've aimed really, really high and then also got lost in that by not being clear on my core values. But I know a lot of people who have a lot of integrity and a lot of self-respect and a strong character, and they have big hearts. But you will only ever have the lifestyle. Your lifestyle is a byproduct. Lifestyle is a byproduct of something bigger. You know, me right now in this moment is a byproduct of my purpose prayer. If you don't have a purpose prayer, if you don't know exactly who you are and exactly what you want to be the best at, it's going to be very hard for you to be as disciplined. It's going to be very hard for you to be consistent. You think you want to be consistent. Everyone here thinks they want that. You aren't clear enough on what you want to be in order to develop consistency. You and I are only consistent at the things we want to be the best at.
Yep.
What's something you're not consistent
on? Meal prepping.
Okay. Why?
Because I dislike it, and I'm very much leaning towards getting to the point where we get food made for us and delivered or whatever it is.
Because right now you don't really care about fitness that much.
No, definitely not.
Okay.
No, not as much as I used to. It's not as much.
And back then you used to meal prep more, right? Mm-hmm. See, that's the thing. Back when you had fitness goals, you were more consistent in meal prepping. You hired a coach. You learned how to do fitness. See, what we think we want is abs. What we really want is a deeply meaningful life of direction and purpose and contribution and growth. And all of those things come from something far bigger, far deeper, far more compelling.
And I think I was thinking of this analogy when you were talking. If you're listening to this show, a couple things can happen. If you absolutely love us and you're like, oh my God, this is unreasonably valuable, you're probably more honed in and specific on what you want out of your future. Where for some people, we're too much feedback. Mm-hmm. They might say these guys are arrogant people who don't have any, what's the word I'm looking for? Empathy for people who don't know what they want out of life. That's not true at all. Right? Think of it this way. This podcast, okay, there's a million podcasts, over a million, literally, right? Okay, you're looking for a tool to help you get to the next level.
Right.
There's a piece of metal, right? There's a piece of metal. There is a hammer. There is a screwdriver. But then there's different kinds of tools. There's different kinds of screwdrivers. Right. There's a flathead. There's a Phillips head. There's a star bit. There's blah, 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 blah. When you're super specific on the project you're working on, the tools that will get you to that next level will present themselves, and you'll understand which tool is doing what. My question, you've always believed in yourself. You have undying self-belief. For somebody out there who is afraid to say what they really want because they don't feel that they can achieve it, because I know that was me for a long time. I didn't have the audacity to say I wanted to be a Joe Rogan or my version of that. What do people do when they don't have that undying self-belief that they can literally accomplish anything they set their mind to, which is most people, and that's still me a lot of the time.
Yeah, I really appreciate the question. I think at this point you just have to get around it. I think it's really difficult to lecture someone into success. You know, I think you have to get around it. I think you have to get around someone who believes in themselves so much that they actually believe in other people too. And then you have to, it's almost like what you said, Kev. It's if you trust someone. Now, this is dangerous because if you trust them and they don't believe in you, you'll also trust what you can't do. Mm. So you have to be careful. But I would say get around someone who has your best interest at heart regardless of themselves and who wants to see you win. I had a coaching call recently with one of our clients, and we had this deep, heartfelt talk where tears flew for sure about how difficult it can be to want so deeply spiritually to be extraordinary, but how a lot of times people don't necessarily want you to be. So let me give you an example. I asked this person, what's your earliest memory where you truly wanted to be incredible and wanted to master your craft and wanted to be the brightest light in the room? And you got made fun of or you lost love or something like that. And she ended up telling me about this specific story where she was basically in a play. And she wouldn't mind me sharing this. She already gave me permission in advance to share anything that I want, which is if it's going to help someone. That's what she said. If it's going to help someone, share it. So this person knows that I'm sharing this. I just don't want anyone else to worry.
Sure, sure.
And so she basically said, I think I was like 7 or 8, and I was in a play, and we were singing, and I was singing to the very best of my ability. I just wanted to be the best singer ever, and I was so loud, and I was singing, and at the chorus of the song, everyone in the school stopped singing and just had her singing, and they all laughed at her. And that, for her, was a turning point in where she started playing small. And we talked about this, because whenever she would lean into her greatness, she would be misunderstood, and people would get jealous. People would get really jealous. And I resonated so deeply with this. This person definitely believes in her own ability, but she wants love, and so a lot of times she'll be less than just to fit in. And I definitely can relate to that, for sure. But I think a lot of people are on the other end of where they've been envious. And if you're out there right now and other people's success makes you envious, just understand that you're never going to become something that you subconsciously dislike or have disdain for. What you should do, to answer Kevin's original question, is get around it. It will rub off on you. Your thermostat will get... If I'm operating in my life, self-belief, at like an 80 degrees, and you're in 60 degrees, just by getting in the room with me, all of a sudden we're 70 degrees. So you're going to up your thermostat and your self-belief through osmosis. You're going to start to believe in yourself because this person's going to believe in you. And they have the results you want. Get around the person who has the results you want and let them raise your thermostat. And when it's uncomfortable, don't leave. Don't let your ego say, oh, this person's mean or this person sucks. I'm going to tell you the secret right here. If someone's more successful than you in any area, they know more than you, or they're doing something you're not. You have to realize this. They're not better than you. They might have certain talents or something like that, but at the end of the day, here's what I'll tell you. People that are wealthy, people that are successful, people that are affluent, people that are influential, they just know more than you do. They're doing things you're not. And if you can sit there and say, oh, that person's a dick, or that person sucks, or that person's mean, I think it's a mistake. Because I think you can learn from it. Find someone whose character you do believe in. Don't let your ego tell you that they're arrogant when they might just have something of value. Amy or Tiff or any of them could have said, "Oh, Alan's too arrogant," and then they could have never reached out. And if they'd never reached out, they might not be where they are today, and they would both probably tell you that. But that I think that's the way. There's no other way. You gotta get around it. You gotta get around it.
Yeah, I think if we look across the board, the people on the team have different results than somebody who's just listening because they are in the community. Right. They are texting us, they're on the team calls and all that stuff. It's very interesting. What was the point I was going to make? Oh, a good exercise, a good tactical takeaway that you can take from this episode. When you're done listening to this, I want you to sit down and literally, if whoever you think could help you get to your dream life, whoever it is that you look up to, that you're like, oh, if only I could talk to that person. If they came to you and said, hey, what do you really want to do with your life? And how can I help you get there? That thing you write down is the thing you should be chasing. Mm-hmm. Even if it's wild. And the interesting thing is, for most people, it always starts with money. It doesn't start with what would fulfill me. It starts with what would finance me. And I think that's an important distinction. When we started this journey, there was no way to make money. That wasn't even a thought. I'm not saying it shouldn't be a thought for you. It should. But how do you make money while staying in the zone of fulfillment, while staying in alignment? When you have a good visual and a good level of clarity for your future, it takes a lot of things off the table for you. You don't really have to make decisions.
I know.
A lot of things are just taken off the table. Like, no, I'm not going to go drinking on a Tuesday ever again. Ever. I can tell you in confidence, I will never go drinking on a Tuesday. But that's because I've designed the life that keeps the rails. I have guardrails around my life that keep me going in a direction. So I think it's super important, and I think that you have to do it with audacity. You have to say, this is really what I want. This is really what I want. I see a lot of people shooting low. I'll say this quick, because we got to go. But I'm in a couple podcast groups. And one of the questions somebody asked was, how many listens do you guys hope to have? Somebody said, like, I just want 100 listeners. That would be amazing. Or I want 10,000 listens total. That'd be amazing.
They don't know what that means.
I know.
Yeah.
But if you're that kind of person, admit that try to shoot higher. Because
Yeah.
maybe you want 10,000 listens, but if you only want 10,000, that means you got to achieve 100% of your goal to get it. When we want to, 500 million is
We've
the
never
goal.
hit our goal.
We're
If you're listening, we've never hit our goal.
No.
We've never hit any goals.
no.
Can we talk about that quickly? I know we got to go.
We do. We have like
If
2
you're out there
minutes.
listening, Kevin and I have never hit a goal we've set. Never.
No, I mean, yeah, winning a show or something, but
No, I mean you and I together.
oh, no.
Top Notch Live had less attendees than we thought.
course.
Your World Within Live, we've never hit a goal we've set.
Yeah.
You and I,
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah, no, true. It's true.
Okay.
It's
The
true.
moment we come close, we up the goal.
Yeah. I think you have to.
You have to.
I think you have to because you're not going to get, even if you get 100% of your goal, the odds of doing that are pretty slim.
Listens are a byproduct of something bigger.
And if you get 100% of your goal, that means you probably could have gotten more.
Exactly.
That's the other thing. Yeah. It's an interesting episode. It's a hardcore kind of episode, but I also hope you understand the undertone of if you understand this and you start practicing it, this can really change your life pretty quick. Obviously, you got to show up and you got to do the consistent work, but at least you understand what the consistent work is and why you're doing it.
Right.
If you wake up with a purpose, it's a different way to live.
Exactly.
And that's what we wanted to bring to this episode.
Last thing I'll say.
Quickly.
If you're not clear, 0 to 10, am I a wandering generality drifting around with the tide? If so, I'm a 0. That's okay. I've been there. Kevin's been there. We're not judging you.
For sure.
10 is a meaningful specific. They know exactly who they are, exactly why they're here, exactly. No one's a 10 and no one's a 0. Okay? A 0 is someone who's just born. A 10 is someone who's 80 years old and already lived out their entire dreams. Which number are you? And are you going to go a little more percentage, more percentage, more percentage? What's the trajectory? What's the rate of improvement? Amy's more clear now than she's ever been. You're more clear now than you've ever been. I'm more clear now than I've ever been. The only question is, how clear are you getting consistently?
Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, if 2021 is the year to start your podcast, reach out to Alan and myself. We have Next Level Podcast Solutions, literally a solution for wherever you are. There is always a next level. Also, Alan and I are really leaning into doing speeches. We have one booked for this weekend, anywhere from 80 to 200 people, which is amazing. If you're looking for enthusiasm, energy, next level awareness, all of that happy jazz, that's what we want to bring to you guys. Just reach out to us or visit our website, nextleveluniverse.com.
Every Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, please join our community. Get around this community of people who believe in you. Just put your Instagram handle in the chat. Come ask questions. Meet these people. Meet these guests. It's going to be the best decision you ever make, in my opinion, honestly.
Humble opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed. And we, as always, do not have fans. We have family. We will see you on the next one.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.